Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we're doing a Weiss Schwarz deck profile. So this card game has been picking up in pace and I have been playing for a few years, so I figured I'd do some deck profiles on the decks I already have, starting with Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. So what we'll do for this video is I will go through my card list, kind of explain my card choices, why I think the cards are good, then we'll talk about the main strategies of the deck, and then finally we will talk about some nice card interactions that explain some of the tech choices that I made. So let's go ahead and hop into the video, starting with our level 0 lineup. So we have 3 copies of Idol with a Sister Complex Nodoka Toyohama. During my turn, or during the player turn, it gets 1,000 power, and then it is a runner. So whenever you get attacked, or whenever it's the opponent's attack phase, you're going to mill the top card off of your deck if you so choose to, and if it's a character, you're able to run it to a different part of your center stage. Now, runners, really good starter cards because they help you maintain board presence by denying reverses. So if you have an opponent, they're bigger than you just use the runner. All right, let me just move to a different spot so that you can't reverse it. That helps you maintain board presence, and especially with level 1 combo. So if your opponent gets to level 1 first and they have an on reverse combo, again, you can just move the runner to a different slot so it can't get reversed, or it forces your opponent to have all 3 lanes having the climax combo on them. So runners, really good cards. They also allow you to mill off the top of your deck. So when it's the opponent's attack step, you can choose to mill the top card of your deck. And if it is a adolescence character, which all the cards in this deck are, except for the climax combos, of course, if you mill the character, then you're going to be able to run it. So again, running, milling, it's pretty beefy at 3k on your own turn. So really, really good card. There is a good reason I only chose to play 3 of it, and that's because we play 3 of the coin flip card, the self-loathing Nodoka Toyohama. So at the beginning of your opponent's draw phase, you reveal the top card of your deck. Now this is mandatory, it is not optional. If that card is level 1 or higher, you may return this card to your hand. So again, optional, so you got to make sure you do it. But this card, I really like this as a 3/3 with the runner because this is another card that also denies reverses, but it is also red, so it allows you to pick it back up, and then if you want to clock it for red for the turn or for your level up, it's really, really good. I find it as a 3/3 pair with the runner, a very good startup for your level 0s, making sure that you can like deny reverses or prevent things from getting killed, giving yourself some hand advantage in case you want to discard for something later. So I really like this as a 3/3, and I've played around with 4 runners and then 2 of these, or 4 of these and 2 runners, and this is the setup that I like the most. All right, going into the next card, we have 3 copies of Phantom Elder Sister Shoko Makinohara. Now there are 2 effects on here, and they're both when you play this card from your hand to the stage. So remember, as the player, you are able to decide the order of events since it is your turn. So the first one allows you to discard the top 2 cards of your deck. Now this is a mandatory effect, so once you play it, you discard those 2 cards. And then the second effect is going to be a search. So you are going to pay 1 and then discard 1 card from your hand to the waiting room, and you're going to search your deck for 1 adolescence character, reveal it to your opponent, and put it in your hand. Now I play this as a 3 of because this is really, really good tech. Being able to decide this order of events is really good because you can search first and then mill the top 2. If you know what the top 2 are and you don't want to mill them, then you will just do the search first and then shuffle those back into your deck, and then you'll discard the top 2, and hopefully it's not one of those cards that you wanted to keep up there. So really good tech. If you like to choose the order of events, really pay attention to what your top decks are. If you need the compression first and then search, if you want to search first then compress. So I really like this card as a 3 of. It's one of those cards where it's like, you know what, this seems like a good turn to play it, so you have to be really careful about when you play this and definitely pay attention to the order of events. Next, we have 3 copies of Girl Shrouded in Mystery Shoko Makinohara. When a climax card is placed on your climax area, choose one of your characters, and that character gets +1 level and +500 power for the turn. So we like that +1 level because it prevents us from getting reversed by like level reversers, like level 0 reversers, level 1 reversers. And then it also has the self-tap brainstorming where you pay 1 and tap the card, and then it becomes a search brainstormer. Self-tapping brainstormers are really, really good. They're great for compression. They allow you to keep other cards untapped in case you want to use their abilities. So for example, you could have 2 of these in your back row, and then you could use each one once if you really desperately need that deck compression, or if you're really digging for something in your deck and you really need to find one of those climaxes to get the search off. So personally, I like playing a 3 of this because I don't like to search for my brainstormer. Generally, the brainstormers stay in the back row all the way until the final turns of the game. So I like playing this as a 3 of, so that hopefully I can just draw into it naturally rather than having to go dig for it. Alright, the next card we play is going to be 2 copies of Bunny Girl Senpai Mai Sakurajima. So when this card becomes reversed in battle, you may reveal up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. If you reveal 1 or more cards, choose one of the adolescence characters from among them, put it into your hand, put the rest in your waiting room, and choose 1 card in your hand and put it in your waiting room. So it is something to let you filter. So when it gets reversed, look at the top 3. All right, this is something you need. Maybe it's something you don't need. It lets you fix yourself for later. Let's say you're trying to fix for your level 1 combo, but you don't have it in hand, but you do have the climax. So you can use this to dig a little bit further, try and get that level 1 card. Or if you're late game, you can try and dig for those level 3s that you need, the level 2s that you need. It's also a great milling card because as a standby deck, so we'll talk about that a little bit later, but as a standby deck, it allows you to put things in your waiting room, hopefully trying to get the level 2s or the level 3s that you need so that you can just play the standby next turn and get things out. So really good card for milling, going through the deck, and making sure that you get exactly what you need. Next, we play 2 copies of the Laplace Demon Tomoe Koga. Now, I really like this card as a tech, and we play 2 of it because I think it's so good. So when this card is placed on the stage from your hand, look at up to 2 cards from the top of your deck and put them at the top of your deck in any order. This is already a great effect because it allows you to fix for your early out level 2 heals. We'll talk about that once we get towards the end of the video, but being able to choose the order is very good. It allows you to check your soul triggers, figure out, all right, do I want to side attack here, or do I want to frontal attack here? Do I need that extra soul, or do I want to put the climax further down so that if I do trigger into it, I could pay it out a little bit easier? So being able to fix the top cards of your deck for free, because it is a level 0 with no cost, is really powerful. Being able to know what those top cards of your deck are going to be very important for this deck. The second effect is when this card attacks, so this is an on-attack effect, meaning that it will pretty much always go off. Choose one of your adolescence characters, and that character gets plus 1,500 for the turn. This is going to be important because our level 1 combo is an on-reverse combo, so you want to make sure that level 1 is beefy, that you can sometimes get around any backups if the opponent has any, and then it also just makes sure you're getting these, essentially running over things with your level 2s, level 3s, so being able to top deck fix as well as getting that knowledge and then being able to add damage, really good. We play 1 copy of the shop tournament promo. This is going to be Summertime Memories Mai Sakurajima. So when you play this card from your hand to the stage, you can put 1 adolescence character from your hand into your clock. So it is a self-clocker. And then if you do, look at up to the top 3 cards from the top of your deck. Choose 1 card among them, put it into your hand, put the rest in your waiting room. Now, I really like this as a one-of simply because it lets you dig out your climaxes. So if you need to force level yourself up for anything, this is a really good card for it. If you're digging for that climax, let's just say you have the level 1 character but not the level 1 climax combo card, this is a really good way of digging it out. It's one of the few ways you can dig out a climax combo from your deck. So I really like this as a one-of. I don't like to play too many of this because it is, again, clocking yourself. It is adding damage to yourself, pushing you towards losing the game. But sometimes if you know what your deck compression is like, or, again, you've checked the top few cards already, then you can just play this down and be like, all right, I know the climax is there. Let me go ahead, fish it out, and then I'm ready for my next turn. So I like this as a nice little one-of in case you really do need to do any digging. So that is going to be our level 0 lineup. Let's move on to our level 1 lineup, starting with, of course, the climax combo character, welcoming with Nasuno Kaede Asugawa. So this card cannot side attack, and then when this card's battle opponent becomes reverse, if together with Nasuno is in your climax area, you may choose 1 character in your waiting room and return it to your hand. So nothing impressive in terms of a level 1 combo. It is a 5/5 that bumps up to 6/5, so a little bit weak on, or it's at the very least the standard 6/5 that any level 1 combo should be. But it's a pretty good card. It's probably the best climax combo in the game, in my opinion. I know some people like to play the yellow Mai that lets you look at the top 4. But I personally like this because selection is always good. Being able to know what's in your waiting room and be like, all right, yes, I need this. Being able to select it, really good, rather than just being like, all right, let me look at the top 4, shoot 3 of them were climaxes, and then the other one's a level 3 I can't even play next turn. So I like this. It's the best climax combo in the deck, and it pairs with standby, which is also really good and essential to how this deck works. So that's the main reason we use this as our level 1 climax combo. It's relatively strong. Standby is really busted in this deck, and then also it becomes at the very least a standard 6/5. All right, moving on to our next level 1, we play 3 copies of Sunset Sky Rio Futaba. When this card is placed on the stage from your hand, this card gets +1 level and +1000 power till the end of turn. So again, getting around those level reversers like the level 1 Chica that bombs itself and then the opponent when it is reversed. So it gets around that, and then it also has, when this card attacks, choose one of your other Adolescence characters, and that character gets plus X power till the end of turn, where X is equal to the number of other Adolescence characters you have, times 500. So a good effect, again, just making sure you run over these things. 6-5 on the level 1 Climax combo is not very strong, so sometimes you just have to beef it up with something like this Futaba, just making sure that you're able to run those things over, get your Climax combo off, and keep plussing off of the Climax combo. So we played 3 copies of that simply because our level 1 lineup is pretty thin. There's a lot of tech in the level 0 and there's a lot of tech in the level 3. So this is just a way of saying, all right, let me just play some things so that I can run things over, because you can even use this effect on a level 0. So for example, if you want to use the giving strength effect to the Nodoka, you've got a full board. So this Nodoka for the turn becomes 5k. That can run over some level 1s too. So it's a really good effect that I think can turn your level 0s into level 1 beat sticks. All right, moving on to the next level 1 and the final level 1 we play 1 copy of Sunset Sky Shoko Makinahara. This is going to be your generic backup where it gives 1,000, and then if you have another Adolescence character, or if you have an Adolescence character, which is all the time, you give another 1,000 to that same character. So remember, it's only the characters in battle. It is not the Asuna from Sword Art Online. You have to give 2k to one character, but that's totally fine because when we talk about it later, we play the Bodyguard setup. So, of course, we want to beef up our Bodyguard. All right, moving on to our level 2 lineup, we play 3 copies of the obvious standby target for the level 1 combo, the Mind Reader question mark, Tomoe Koga. So this card gets plus 1,000 power for each of your other Adolescence characters, making it easily an 11k level 2 that you can get out on level 1, essentially being able to run over everything, being unable to be run over itself, and no one's playing early out destroyers or early out reversers at level 1 anyways. So by getting this card out with the standby card, you essentially keep it on the field, gaining the stock, and then always crashing in with the 2 souls, because again, it's a level 2 cost, so it's got 2 soul attached to it. So you're essentially just running into your opponent really quick with a really big card. And we play 3 copies of it because we have so many ways to filter through the deck. For example, we got the Shoko to discard. We've got the level 0 Bunny Girl Senpai card. We've got the Self Clock, look at top 3. We got the Mill Runner. So we've got a lot of different ways to make sure that this level 2 makes it into our waiting room. So that way, when we stand by at level 1, we can always get it out. That's why we only play 3 copies as opposed to 4. I thought 4 was a little too clunky. There were so many times where I had it and I was like, shoot, I need to save the stock. I can't be playing a blue card, especially since blue is pretty thin in this lineup. Our last level 2 we play is going to be Surface Feelings Mai Sakurajima. So when you use the backup of this card, you're going to discard, or you can discard 2 cards from your hand to your waiting room. And when you use the backup, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's characters with a level higher than your opponent's level and put it into your opponent's waiting room. So the classic anti-change, trying to make sure that if your opponent's got a level 3 out, it's going to be staying on the field for a while because maybe it's just really bulky. You just get rid of it with this. Very easy, discard 2. It's a little hefty on the cost, but sometimes it's worth it to get out that early out. And then, of course, it's a backup 2,500, so it'll give strength as well, which again is super important for our Bodyguard setup. All right, so that explains the level 2 lineup. Let's go ahead, dig into the level 3 lineup, starting with our 4 of level 3 Climax combo. We've got Irreplaceable Existence, Mai Sakurajima. So when this card is placed on the stage from your hand or your memory, put the top 2 cards of your deck into your waiting room and deal X damage to your opponent. X is equal to the number of level 2 or higher cards revealed amongst those cards. So that also explains why our level 1 is kind of thin, because we want to have as many level 2s and level 3s as possible for this card, for when you play it, and then just doing extra damage. And then the Climax combo, when this card attacks, if the World Without You is in your Climax area, you may deal 1 damage to your opponent. So really, really good chip damage, and we've seen in so many other decks that chip damage is really good for just cutting off those extra Climax cards so that you can do big damage with your swing, or just doing progressive chip damage until you can take out your opponent. So we see that with things like the Mikasa from Sword Art Online, or I'm sorry, not from Sword Art Online, from Attack on Titan. Sword Art Online is just on my mind because it's one of the decks that we have to go over. And then the third effect on this, When this card is frontal attacked, put this card into your memory. Now, this is a really good effect because if you get to level 3 first for whatever reason, because we've got a lot of ways to heal, this deck definitely focuses on that level 2 healing a bit. When this card gets frontal attacked, it immediately goes to memory. That means any level 3 climax combos that your opponent has does not go off. So they don't get the additional burn from the Mikasa, or they don't get the clock kick because there is no reverse card. So there is a lot of good reasons to be playing this. That's why we play 4 of it, because if we can get a field of 3 of these on the final turn, if you're not winning that game, your opponent is extremely lucky or something went wrong. That's all I can say. If you got a field of 3 of these on your final turn, you're dealing so much damage that it's absolutely crazy. You mill for damage, you ping for 1, and then it's a 3 soul card. And then if you got the climax combo out, it's 4. So you can do like 2-1-1 or 1-1-1. Like that's 3 damage right there. So if you get 3 of these out and you lose, like that's just GG's. Like luck was just against you on that one. So we play 4 copies of this because it's incredibly strong as a level 3 and definitely deserves its place as the finisher of our deck. The next card we play in our level 3 lineup is going to be 3 copies of Devilish Kohai Tomoe Koga. This one has an assist ability where all your Adolescence characters in front of this card get plus 2,000 power. Now that's really beefy. If you have a setup where there's 2 of them in the back, that gives the center character plus 4,000, which is going to be important in just a little bit when we talk about our Bodyguard. The second effect is when you place this card from your hand to the stage, you may pay the cost, which is discarding 1 card from your hand to the waiting room, and then you put the top card of your clock into your stock. So that makes this card, if you have to play it from hand, you can just discard a card, and then you heal 1, so it makes the cost essentially 1, and then you heal the card. So really, really good stuff there. And then the very, very, very last effect, which is extremely rare, pay 5 if all characters are level 3 or higher. All players put up to 4 cards from the top of their clock into their waiting room. So kind of an extreme heal. You have to pay 5 in order to get it out. I've never used this effect. No matter how many times I've played this deck, I've heard some people use it for a very last-ditch effort where they're like 3-6 and the opponent's at like 3, just to stay in the game. But I've very rarely, if ever, seen this effect be used. We mainly use it for the plus 2k to the front, and then the additional heal if we get it out that way. So this is going to be your classic standby target for your level 2 game, because you just fish this out with standby, and then it becomes in the back row, and then your level 2s become beefy, like everything becomes beefy with this card in the back, and hopefully you get 2 of them out by your level 3 game. Moving on to the next card that we play in our level 3 lineup, we have 3 copies of Sunset Sky Kaede Asagawa. When you have 4 more Adolescence characters when you play this card, or you can play this card at level 2, so it is an early out. The next effect is when this card is placed on the stage from your hand, reveal the top card of your deck. If that card is level 1 or lower, put it into your stock. So we see the level 2s or higher being important for the finisher, and then we see the level 1s and lower being important for the early out in order to make it essentially an early out that costs 1. That's a level 3. It's got 8-5 on the attack, 2 soul. So essentially what we want to do is keep getting these out as much as possible on level 2 so that we stay at level 2 and just keep swinging in with this card here or whatever we stand by. Or again, the giant level 2 that you hopefully got out on the first, on level 1. The second effect, or I'm sorry, the third effect is when this card is placed on the stage from your hand, you may put the top card of your clock into your waiting room. So this is really, really good. Again, it's really weak, but who really cares? Because it's just out of range for level 1s for the most part, unless there's like backups, climax combos, things like that. But essentially, it's a 1 cost, early out, heal that can do damage. That's crazy. That's a really, really good effect. Now, I did experiment playing with 4 of these, but that ended up being a little too clunky, and I ended up wanting to play other level 3s in its place, because if we ever got to level 3 a lot faster than we'd like to, this card essentially became useless when I could have used other things, or used a Bodyguard, or used the support, the assist in the back. So 3 of these is good enough for me. I've been able to recycle a few of them and make sure that I am able to keep playing at level 2, especially when your level 1 climax combo is an on reverse get back from waiting room. So you can ditch this card, get it back from your with your climax combo, play it again next turn, keep staying at level 2. So I really like this as a 3 of. Moving on to the next level 3 we play 2 copies of the Bodyguard. Now, I was thinking about playing 3 of this, but again, it gets kind of clunky, especially since for the most part, you're good really just having 1 of these out at any one time. Bodyguard also only works on the center. So let's go ahead and read the effects of this cool and collected Rio Futaba. If this card is in the middle position of your center stage, this card gets plus 4,000 power. So taking it from 8-5 all the way to 12-5. And then if we have these cards in the background, the Kogas, then we immediately go up to 16-5, which is huge. Absolutely ridiculously huge. The next effect is if your level is 3 or higher, this card gets great performance. Now remember, great performance is that if this card is in the center of the center stage, it's in the middle slot, it means all your opponent's attacks have to go through this card. While it is, I believe it's only while it is alive. If it gets reversed, they are able to get around it. But for the most part, when you've got something that's 16-5 in the middle, and then you also play backups, like, it's very rarely getting run over. So great performance, really good for blocking opponents' attacks, really good at blocking the on-reverse effects if you're able to beef it up enough. So really, really good effect on here. This is the kind of card that forces other players to play other cards. So for example, whenever you play Bodyguard, everyone's looking for their wind. Everyone's looking for something to get that Bodyguard off of the stage so that way they can not even deal with it, because of the third effect of this card makes it incredibly broken on top of Bodyguard and the 4K that it gets if you're level 3. And it's on the middle center, the middle position of your center stage. So the last effect is pay 1, put 1 card from your hand into the waiting room. When this card's battle opponent becomes reverse, you may pay the cost. If you do, deal 1 damage to your opponent. That's insane. So Bodyguard, 12K that can get up to 12.5K that can get up to 16.5K, and then you've got backups to keep it even bigger, make it even heftier than it already is. And then remember that on reverse effects don't have to be on your own turn. If your opponent crashes into this card, you can still pay 1, ditch 1 card, deal 1 damage. So it's effectively like a trap card in Weiss, where if they attack it, get reversed, they're at 3-6, they don't realize the effect of this card works on both turns. You essentially pay 1, ditch 1, boom. There's that ping 1 damage, and you can end the game on their own turn. And as a Bodyguard, as a great performance card, they are forced to attacking into it. So as long as you can keep this card beefy and pay the cost if you need to, you can essentially ping for 3 extra damage on the opponent's turn, making it much easier to win. So this card is absolutely busted. It was called the Boogeyman of Weiss when it first came out, and it dominated the JP scene. And I don't even play JP Weiss, and even I heard that. So this card is an amazing card. We only like to play 2 of it though, because we generally only want to have 1 copy out first of all. And by that point, you're hopefully able to get it somehow. So you either stand by into it, or you hopefully can just get 1 copy out. You can use the Shokos to get it out, the level 0 searchers if you need to. You can use the Brainstormer to get it out. So hopefully your field is pretty established by the time you become level 3, because you're definitely going to want to have 1 of these out. The last level 3 we play is going to be a 1 of tech. It's going to be the Swimsuit Tomoe Koga. Don't pay attention to the second effect because we don't play the climax for it. But that first effect, when this card is placed on the stage from your hand, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, put them on top of your deck in any order, and then choose one of your opponent's characters and return it to his or her hand. So really good effect here. So lets you look up to top 3 and then put them back in any order. That's really good in case you need to use it for the Mai, because remember that the Mai, you mill the top 2 cards and then you deal X damage for each level 2 or higher. So let's just say your top deck looks like a level 0, a level 2, and a level 3. You play this card first, look at those top 3, and then fix it in whatever way you want so that when you play the Mai next, you deal the amount of damage that you want to do. On top of that, it is this deck's version of Wind. So in terms of the mirror match, when you're playing this, you can just play this, get rid of the Bodyguard, and proceed to swing without having to worry about getting that ping damage on your own turn. So Wind, I'm starting to see it a lot more as a 1 of tech for early outs, for Bodyguards, for really big beefy things. So I like my 1 copy of Wind. In case I know what my matchup is, know what I'm going to be facing, I just hold it in my hand until the time comes, and then boom, check it, check the top 3, fix it however I need to, win that character, and we are good to go. In terms of our climax combos, we play an obvious 4 copies of The World Without You, which is our level 3 combo, and then 4 copies of the Standby together with Nasuno. Now remember, the way that Standby works is that when you play this climax card, you can choose 1 card from your waiting room that's your current level +1, and then play it on the stage as rested. So when we play this card at level 1, we ideally want to have this in our waiting room, so that way we can put it on the stage, in the back row, whatever have you, and then it just becomes like this beat stick that you essentially keep using for the rest of the game, or until your opponent can figure out some way of getting rid of it. Because again, no one's playing anti-early outs at level 1. So 4 copies of that. So that is the deck list. I know it took a lot of time to explain, but I tried my best to go through the cards, my choices, things like that. So what is the general strategy for this deck? So let's go ahead and wrap things up here real quick and then talk about the strategy of the deck. All right, so we're going to do this in a level by level breakdown. Put this in the right order. All right, so in terms of our level 0 game, what you ideally want to do is on the first turn, whenever you play, you want to get some combination of these cards out. So again, we want to deny reverses. We want to make sure we maintain our board presence. So you want to get one of these out and make sure you just swing away. On your opponent's turn, hopefully you're able to maintain this so that you can use it the second turn. The rest of the level 0 cards are essentially just tech to make sure that you're able to set up for your level 1. So this is going to be your main damage. This is going to be what's doing the attacking. These Shokos are going to be to set you up and to mill your deck. If you've somehow gotten into like 4 climaxes super early and you're about to eat really heavy damage on level 1, to search out for your level 1s in case you need to. Naturally, self-tapping Brainstormer is really good. Essentially going to be the back row of the game until the level 2 turns, where you're going to want to try and get out that level 3 Koga that gives the assist. So really good card. Every deck needs a good self-tapping Brainstormer, or at least a Brainstormer at the minimum. Again, this Mai is going to help you just get on reverse, check for the top 3. All right, here's my level 1 climax card combo character, and then lets you filter out for things like that. This is really tech for mid to late game, but it's super useful early on, again, for checking those soul triggers. And really, I don't use this card until I'm either really desperately looking for a climax card, or it's late game and I'm, again, looking for a climax card. So that's going to be the main strategy. At level 0, these will attack. The rest of your stuff is to help you get set up. On level 1, you hopefully have some kind of setup where you can get essentially 3 of these out. The main reason I like playing 3 of these out as much as possible is because your opponent sometimes has runners. They sometimes have the coin flip. They sometimes have ways of getting around the reverse. So I really like this as a 3 of in the front row as much as possible, just so that I can make sure I get those runs and then get stuff from my waiting room, maintaining my hand advantage and plussing off of that. Again, sometimes you have like a beefy level 1 you're facing or a beefy level 0, so sometimes you're going to want to do something like this, where you'll swing here first, give the power to one of these Kaedes, and then run over your opponent that way. So that's going to be the generic level 1 strategy. And remember that your whole level 1 game, you're trying to get out the climax combo. So you're going to do something like this, where you want these 3 Kaedes out, sure thing. And then you're going to play the climax combo, which lets you dig out the level 2 and put it in the back row. So there's a lot of times where I've had games where this was effectively my level 1 board. And again, this can't attack the turn it's been put on standby, so you're still going to attack with these. You're still going to try and plus with these. But even if you can't plus with these because they've got runners or they've got the Aaron that bounces back to hand, at the very least, you got your level 2 out, and then you're able to start running things over next turn. There have been a few games where I've, for some reason or another, had an empty slot here, so I would just, boom, put it right there. And then this is a lane they can't attack into next turn. So that's your strategy at level 1. Your level 1 strategy is to plus with the climax combo and try and get out the level 2 as much as possible. So at level 2, your strategy maintains the same, where you generally have this card out, maybe you have 2 of them out, what have you. And you're setting up for level 3, as well as making sure you maintain your level 2 board using this card here. So for example, let's have another setup here. So we will have the Brainstormer in the back, and then maybe we'll just have something random in the back as well, like a runner. Let's say we just want to keep milling cards off the top of our deck because we really need to compress. So at level 2, you're going to want to have this kind of board position, play this, and then heal for 1 cost as much as possible. Maintaining this board, keep swinging in with these 2 soul beaters that line up your front, and keep pushing damage on your opponent. If they get to level 3 before you, that's totally fine. Because if you're at level 2 with 3 in the clock and they're at level 3 with 1 in the clock, that's already a really advantageous board position. And these are pretty big, right? So you can play these as really big cards that can attack actually some level 3s. If you're able to stand by again and have a setup that looks like this, busted. Absolutely broken. Because with this sort of board setup, these become 13k, and 13k can get over a lot of level 3s. So you're trying to stand by as much as possible during your level 2 setup and your level 1 setup, trying to keep building yourself up. Because ideally by level 3, if everything goes your way, which granted it will not happen all the time, you start your level 3 with something looking like this, where you have the 2 Kogas in the back and then whatever in your front. It doesn't really matter at that point. So moving on to the level 3 strategy. So let's say the level 2 healing didn't really work out for you. You know, you ran into some problems, you just got attacked too quickly. So level 3, what you want to look at is, again, having these 2 in the back, and then having your bodyguard in the middle, and then 2 Mais lining up the sides here. So remember that these Mais effectively can do damages like 1-1-1, or 2-1-1, or 2-1-4, right? So these Mais are going to be your general damage dealers, trying to push your opponent for the game. While this stays in the middle, again, it can attack, reverse, and then do the discard 1, pay 1 to ping 1. So lots of ways to get single points of damage out with this board setup right here. So this is what you want to look at level 3. So that is the general strategy of this deck. Again, you're trying to maintain your level 2, while at the same time, if you get pushed to level 3, you just want to ping for extreme amounts of, not extreme amounts, but essentially 1-1-1s, right? Doing as much ping damage as possible. So that is going to be the general setup for the deck. So let me go ahead and explain some of the tips that I use in order to make this deck work, and why I explain some of the tech choices. So this is going to be one of the easiest ones out, and I really like this level 0 for this reason. So remember that this Kaede requires a level 1 or lower card to be on the top of the deck in order to become a cost 1. So remember, when you play this, if the top card is level 0 or lower, you can put it in your stock. So it would look like this kind of scenario. So you got only 2 stock, right? And then some sort of board position like boom, 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 right? Because that's the early out condition for this card. So let's just set up the field in a way that you'd be actually playing this, right? All right, let's actually do this. This makes a lot more sense. Okay, so when you have these 2 cards in hand, right? These are the only 2 cards you got. You'll play this first, top check the 2. All right, do I have a level 0? Perfect. Or a level 1? Perfect. Let's go ahead and set it up so that's the top card. Then you're going to do this where you pay the 2, and then if you had a point of damage, you know, heal the point of damage. Top check. Boom. It's the level 0 because you guaranteed it with this card. Goes into your stock, and then you effectively made this a one cost heal on level 2, and now you've got this card to attack. So that's the reason I really like this card. It sets you up for level 2 for more consistent plays regarding your Kaede, because you don't want to just keep playing it and just being like, shoot, I paid 2 to get it out. Because a pay 2 early out to heal 1 is not as good, and significantly, definitely not as good, as a pay 1, heal 1 early out. So that is the reason we play that level 0 Koga. It works really well with the Kaede. We already talked about this card, the 1 copy of the Clock Self to look at top 3. Again, you can use this card to look for climax cards, and that's the main reason we play it in this deck. When we look at, again, the Shoko, I'm just going to go through these real quick because I described them a little bit earlier. The Shoko is good for filtering or removing things off the top of the deck, effectively removing 3 cards from your deck. So let's just say you're super uncompressed. All 8 climaxes are out. There's like 20 cards left in deck. Playing this card and using its effect not only lets you search, but it removes 3 of those characters, thinning out your deck even further. Let's see. One thing that I do want to talk about is I don't like using this card's 3rd effect, or the 2nd effect, where when this card is put into your waiting room from the stage, you may choose 1 irreplaceable existence Mai Sakurajima, which is the level 3 card, and then put it in your memory. The main reason we don't really use that effect is, number 1, we don't have any ways to fish it out of the memory. We don't play the event card because I found the event card to be a little bit clunky and not work as well as I would like it to. I feel like it's a little inconsistent, and then sometimes you want to be hitting adolescence characters rather than just an event. So we don't like that because, sure, it compresses you a little bit, but now you're out a level 3 that's doing damage. And remember, your ideal setup is you have 2 of these, 1 on the left and 1 on the right. So if you're effectively compressing yourself, sure, you're making it less likely you'll take damage, but at the same time, you are getting rid of a level 3. We'd use this effect pretty late game if we need to compress our deck because we know how many climaxes are in there. We're about to refresh, things like that. When this card effectively is not as useful as it normally would be, that's when we'd use this effect, but very rarely do I get into that kind of scenario, because if I'm playing these 2, I'm likely winning that turn. If I don't win that turn, again, GG's to me. Like, I tried my best. All right. The next thing, we talked about the level 3 Koga, so the top check 3 in order to set up for the Mai. And one more thing that I didn't really talk about that's super important is the Bodyguard ability and how it combos with backups. So my understanding of the rules, I haven't played this deck in at least over a year, but my understanding of the rules is that when you play a backup for a card, it maintains that backup strength for the entire turn. So let's say it's the first character, your opponent's swinging with the first character in their center stage, you back it up, and you had like the whole setup. So you had these two in the back. So level 3, so you're going to be at 12-5, plus these in the back, you're at 16-5. You play this backup, it's going to be 19 for the turn. There are very few things in this game you can do to somehow get rid of something that's 19k. 19k is absolutely huge. So to have that for the entire turn means your opponent's really got to think, do I want to swing into this and potentially get pinged to death by this pay 1, discard 1, burn 1? So the thing I like about this deck is that it really forces your opponent to do certain things in order to get around your Bodyguard. How do they get around a huge level 2 at level 1? So I really like this deck. I think it's really, really powerful. And when this deck first came out, people were playing around this card. They would make sure they have ways to get around this card, especially since there are also a bunch of level 3s that still actually require on-reverse effects, and then there's the Mai, and it's just like, nope, you can't on-reverse me, because the moment you attack me, I go straight to memory. So a really, really good deck, a really powerful deck overall, and it's part of the reason, on top of popularity, why this deck is very, very expensive. Each one of these foil cards goes for an extremely high price, even just the regular core of the deck. So 4 of these copies is going to be really expensive. This is probably the most expensive level 1 out there. That's just a regular rare. This isn't even a double R. I think Aaron's the most expensive level 1 at $45, whereas this is clocking at a regular rare, which is more or less 1 per box, for $25. That's just how good this is as a level 1 combo. Each one of these runners, I think, is like $40 because it's core to the level 0 game. Each one of these brainstormers, because every deck needs a good brainstormer, this is really the only viable option, is going to be like, what, $40, $30? So the core of the deck itself is extremely expensive because it's popular, and on top of that, it is also very, very good. So that is my deck profile for my Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai deck. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. If you'd like to join my Discord, I don't currently have anything for Weiss right now, because pretty much everything went off to the side for Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, but with Kingdom Hearts Union Cross ending, I'm not really sure what I want the direction of my channel to be. So if I want to make a Weiss channel, I'll make it, but we have to see the videos pick up steam before I'll decide if I want to make a separate channel for it altogether. But that is all for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, take it easy.